you can turn it
How do you
300.
take out all the factors? I mean, if the wind's blowing the building and it's swaying, and you take a picture and it's swayed one way,
Oh,
I
they
mean,
do sway. They
you can't
sway. I
shit. Are
forgot
you
about
kidding
that.
me? These
I forgot. Yeah.
But also,
I have an
once
idea, gentlemen.
okay.
Let's hear it. Essie's got some good shit. What do you got, Essie?
How about you zoom in on one of them fancy satellites, right? Or I don't know if the ISS can do this. How about you zoom into a nice big cruise liner cruising upside down or sideways? I'll be happy with that.
Why do you guys let him talk? You know, it's always sarcastic with this guy. I mean, I don't even know why. Come on.
Why is it sarcastic? What's wrong with what I said? Go ahead.
I think the ISS. Go ahead.
What wait, hold on. You mean the upside down ship? You don't think that's like, come on.
Does your ball have up and down?
There's a relative up and down. That's why I'm thinking. That's why I'm saying this is kind of silly, because if you're gonna have an upside down boat, then you would have to imagine the satellite taking the picture was oriented in such a way that the boat is upside down. You know what I'm saying? But if it was rotated, then it wouldn't be upside down. I don't know. It's just, I feel like it's a really sarcastic answer, but maybe you're being serious. I don't know.
You know why you're sarcastic? Because you're used to Star Trek when they show they're zooming into the ball and all of a sudden it turns upside down. But you think that would happen in reality?
I don't know. Anyway,
I have an idea.
Hold on. How the ISS can only see, I think, 3% of the Earth's surface, right? So I mean, they're not even seeing the whole half of the ball.
I'm glad you said that. Now, back in the 80s, Jeremy, the agencies had a satellite. They were bragging that they can zoom in and see a penny and tell you what year it is.
Remember that movie Head of State with Will Smith? Something like that, yeah.
Uh-huh. Now, with one of those, I ask you, can they not zoom in far away from the Earth, show the sphere, just zoom in to any one of those big boats, those huge liners, and just show it, cruising upside down, game over. Everybody
no, it's not
home.
Game over, because how do you know they didn't just take a normal picture of the boat and just flipped upside down? I mean, there's so much, like, that doesn't make any sense. This is silly.
But ask yourself why this has not been done in 50 years. They had this in the 80s, I believe. Why has this not been done?
I don't even know if they have cameras that powerful. I don't know if that shit was legit.
Research it, bro. Research it.
But you know that there is no concept of up and down, only exists when you have like a gravitational pull. So you could say every point on Earth is up and down at the same time, depending on where you are on Earth. So when the ISS is flying, it's orientate its camera so that up in the camera is up to you. But you could also say, well, it's actually down, depending on if you're on the other side of the Earth. So all they can do is just switch the camera upside down and say, now we're oriented as if we were on the other side of the Earth. Here you can see a boat upside down.
That's what I'm
it's
saying,
kind of pointless, right? It's kind of pointless.
What?
Listen, I'm going to unmute them.
I was hoping one of them would say that, Jeremy. Give me a second. So you're saying now, if we point to the moon, right?
Okay.
Yep.
And I tell you where is up and where is down. If there was like a big, huge building on top of the moon or on the bottom of the moon, would you be able to distinguish if I told you point to that thing? Would you be able to distinguish what I was talking about?
It's good to find the top and bottom of that moon. I mean, people, I'm pretty sure, isn't it where people in the South Pole, I mean, not South Pole,
wagon
South
wheel
equator.
effect.
What?
So you're saying if we zoom in,
the north for this other people are going to be flipped. So on the other hemisphere, just like from like on the other side of just say it's a flat Earth. We can't. You're looking at from the. I don't even know. It's so confusing, north and south.
It's not confusing. You're in La La Land. Let's say now we're in the north of your sphere, right? Let's say we're in Canada.
It's called the wagon wheel effect. If I'm standing on the other side of something, I'm seeing I'm seeing the reverse of it. That's just basically what he's saying. And since you do see that, then there's that issue, that variable that needs to be discussed.
What are you talking about, dude? If I was to tell you, look at the moon, there's the bottom crater and there's the top, would you not understand what I was talking about?
Not if I was on
It's
a different
only
hemisphere than you, because it would be the opposite of
yeah.
what you're seeing. Is what I'm trying to say.
Let's say you were
Right?
orbiting far away from the moon, like we are on Earth, right? Let's go into your La La Land fantasy. You're gonna tell me if there was a big structure on the bottom of the moon pointing down, and another huge structure pointing up, you wouldn't be able to distinguish if you zoom in which one is pointing down and which one is pointing up?
If I'm not on the moon and I'm looking from that edge and I'm fixed, and that's the position we all agree that everyone is going to be fixed to, then yeah, man, sure.
What, man? You can tell me
Yes.
which is up and which is down, right?
If there is a fixed position, if we're not changing,
like there was
like,
a fixed geostationary satellite, like there is on your spinning ball fantasy, for example.
right, but then we would call it the surface because there would be no up and down, right?
Call it whatever you want. Would you be able to distinguish which building, which tower is pointing down and which one is pointing up from your perspective? Yes or no?
Right. If I just assume that the top is up and the bottom is down, then yeah.
There's
If I
no
assume that what
assuming.
I'm looking at, no, yeah, there is. Like if I'm just looking at a ball from my position at that moment, I can say this is a top and this is a bottom.
Okay, perfect. We'll go
But
with
there's
that.
no
We'll go with that.
yeah.
All right. So now let's go back. Now let's go back to Earth. We're not on the moon now. We're on a geostationary satellite. On your
We
fantasy
weren't on the
spinning
moon
ball.
before. We weren't on
Hold
the moon
on.
before. Remember, we were out in space looking at the moon. We weren't
Yeah,
on the moon.
exactly. From a
Okay, so
geostationary position.
all right, so
You wanted a fixed position. I gave.
and so
Okay, so now
But
we
his
go on Earth.
orientation was arbitrary. He just picked one. He could just easily be the other way around. He could be a
right.
180 degrees twist.
Yeah,
So,
fine.
and then
I'll
Exactly.
give
the
I'm
you
just
other
that.
one.
Take your
arbitrarily
fantasy.
picking.
Sure, that's yours on a platter. So now we're on Earth now. We pick our position and we say that's north and we say that's south.
But see, now we're on
With me
Earth.
so far?
No, because we weren't on the moon before, so now we're on a surface. Now you're trying to change the
We're not
whole
on.
platform. Okay, you said you were on the Earth. Sorry, I got confused.
I
when
mean
heard you
the
say, "No, we're on
scenario.
Earth."
Now the
Same
scenario goes to
scenario now
Earth.
looking at the Earth. Okay, so same thing.
Exactly.
We're just making up a top and making up a bottom.
Exactly. So we make up a top. We have the top and we have the bottom from our vantage point, right? We're on a geostationary
Exactly.
satellite. Pick
Yes,
any
sir.
distance you want that you're comfortable with.
But this is
Any card?
arbitrary. Like you said, pick a point, and then anything could be top and bottom at this point because it's
Well,
arbitrary.
he
You're
knows
just
that. We're
floating in
there.
space anyway.
Yeah, I think you're behind here in the conversation, Punk. So,
Okay, sorry.
so we're moving forward, right? So
Come
now
on,
we
you got
have a huge boat on the South Ocean, on the bottom, on
the South would
what
be
we
the
call the
top,
South,
right?
and we have a boat on the top, what we call the North, the positions we gave them, correct?
Well, yeah, we'll line that up. Go ahead.
So we zoom in to the top boat. What do we see? We see a boat on the top riding the waves, right?
Okay.
Now, when we zoom in on the bottom boat, what do we see?
The same thing.
What do you mean? Do we see a boat upside down riding the waves? On the downside of the ball, on the southern side of the ball?
It looks like it's upside down because you're upside down now looking at it, right?
No, you're not upside down. You're in the same position as you were looking at the one at the top.
No, well, that's the thing. Like, but compared to the surface, like, what are you comparing it to? Because only a surface, you can only be on something, call it an upside down or not. When you're out there in free space, what's the relationship between up and down?
The relationship is.
But we already established that.
No, we didn't. We established that it was arbitrary, so there was no fixed up and down. So that your argument doesn't keep going to fix an up and down. There is no fixed up and down.
If you establish an up and down, that's the standard you use for up and down until you've decided to stop using that standard then. So he already took care of that when he said, we decide what's up, we decide what's down. That's the standard now. That's how human standards work. So that's the standard until you're done using that standard.
Well, yeah, from your location out in space, it would seem that they are upside down.
It's the same
Okay,
anywhere.
okay,
Greg.
fine. Okay,
Come
great,
on, it's the
great.
same
We
anywhere.
established that. Do
Hold
we
on,
have any pictures of that? Any video ever taken? Ever?
Of course
To
not.
be so far away that
How
you
come?
couldn't see that.
Give me a camera
Ask
that
yourself
can
that,
take that.
Grim. Ask yourself that, bro.
I will. I'll ask you that. Give me
But
a camera if you could just give me a camera that could actually do that.
I
Well,
gave
what
you
about
one. I gave you one. It could zoom in to a penny and read the year according to the agency.
But that's not from the vantage point where you could see the whole Earth. Like the ISS could zoom in pretty far. You could like see airplanes or maybe buildings, right? But that's still like you see only like 3% of the Earth. You don't see the globe. You don't
I
see
didn't say
ships.
the ISS. Again, you're behind in the party, dude.
Right,
You gotta
but to
catch
zoom in
up.
on such a small object,
You
you
gotta
need to
catch up.
shrink your
Yeah, but
field of view will shrink.
I don't think
right?
that
You know
camera
what?
exists.
You know how you do this?
So you're
Hold on. You know how you do this? You'd have to zoom in to one side, see a ship. You know, you have your up and down, so you zoom in to one side. You see
Take a
how the
photo.
ship. You see how the ship's facing. Well, video. You see the direction of the ship. Then you go to the other side to another ship or building or whatever you're doing. Zoom into that without changing the camera's orientation, and it should be anti-photo, give
It's
or
as
take.
simple as that.
But how do you know you don't change your orientation?
It's a video, so we'll be able to see everything.
Yeah, but if you fly quote unquote around the globe, how do you know we're not just flying across a flat plane or actually keeping our orientation steady?
What are you talking
How would you
about?
know that?
What are you talking about, dude? Make some
He's talking
sense.
about they're talking
What?
about, dude, from space. They're taken from a fixed position in space. They're able to see the entire side of the planet, and at the top of the planet, which they would call the top, or one edge, and then an opposing
Okay.
edge. That's what we should call it because of edge of view, right? One horizon
Okay.
basically to the other, right? So opposing horizon. That way you don't have to worry about up and down and left and right and all those things. We could just say that, and that's clear. So what he's saying is, do we see the ships sinking over the horizon on both sides? One being facing, upside down and going and sinking over the horizon bottom first, and the other one, they're still sinking over the horizon bottom first, either way you look at it, right? So let's take a look, as what he's saying, right?
But that's how you would do it,
Let's
though.
see.
You would do it in video form. That way we know the camera's orientation didn't change. You'd be able to see it all happening.
That's it. Very
But I mean,
simple.
if we
And
were
everybody,
far
every
enough
one of
away
us
to
goes
do that,
home.
Essie,
We
probably
would you
never
trust?
say flat Earth again.
Essie, let's see.
Essie,
Hold on. Let's say
if
they
we
came up
were,
with this footage. Hold on, Graham. Essie, let's say they came up with this footage. Would you even believe it?
I would scrutinize it, yeah. And then, look, we can represent it. We can recreate it. We got all kinds of commercial flights going up, so that shouldn't be a problem soon. Then we could
So
all go home.
Yep, and I think even before that got there, if we were far enough away to do what you're asking to do, you'd also just be able to see the entire fucking planet, right? So you'd already know before you even ask
How
about
come
the
it
ship.
is that we can? I'm sorry, I thought you was done. How come it is we can see the ISS with our eyeballs, but then when you guys are supposed to be able to like zoom in with these high-powered things down on the Earth, you can't see nothing, but our eyeballs are good enough to look up and see the ISS, no problem.
Because you don't really see it, no problem. You just see the brilliant light reflecting off of it, and the light is bigger than the actual object because of
Well,
the
what's the
reflection.
problem where we don't see
And
what
you're
we
seeing
see?
it's like saying,
I see a
I
bright
can see a
object that I
little.
see. Very good.
Yeah, but it's like seeing a little mirror, right? If I'm on a mountain, you cannot see that little mirror until
How am I
I
seeing it?
reflect this. Hold on a second. With your eyes, you can't see the mountain because it's so small. You can't see that little mirror until I reflect sunlight off of it into your face. Then you can see the mirror because you're
So
not
you're
really
saying
seeing the
the
mirror
sun
so
is
much as
All
you
your
are.
stories are cool, but we can stare
Never
right up
mind.
at the fucking thing, and you say, "Hey, can you guys look out your door and see the ISS?" And we're like, "Yeah." So if we can see that with our eyes, you can say it's a mirror, a turd, a donkey duck. It doesn't matter. All you have to
It
be able
does
to do
matter
is see
because
it.
you can't
That
see
means
it with your
that
eyes.
a
You're
guy,
not.
hold on a minute, man. So a guy on the ISS should be able to
Never mind.
see me wave at him or see a thing that's as big as the ISS from the ISS clearly, easy every time with his own eyeballs.
Hashtag donkey duck.
Except you can't actually see the ISS in itself. You're seeing
Then what are
reflection
we
of
seeing?
light, sun off of. Oh,
No,
we're
that's
almost
not
gonna tell
true.
you. I
You're
was
seeing
almost
the
with your naked eye. Excuse me, dude. Hold on a second. He's saying that you can see it with no problem, like you can see a little guy standing in it or something. That's just
No.
ridiculous.
You see, listen, no. The little
didn't
guy
hear him
should be
say
able to
that.
see the
waving
guy.
at me.
You're not listening, Grim. The little guy. I see the ship he's on, and the little guy that's on the ship should have the same eye power as me, looking down as I have looking up. If I can see his ship, then he should be able to look down and see my building. It's the same size as his ship. Do you understand what I'm saying?
But you can't just
Absolutely,
see his
brother.
ship unless you're reflecting sunlight off of it. And if you are reflecting sunlight off of your building, he can definitely see it from space.
If the sun is reflecting off the ISS, it would be flashing you. You wouldn't be seeing an object.
It does
Reflected
flash
light
you.
is how we see. So
He's
it does
talking about the
flash like
naked
a
eye.
mirror. So
Yeah,
it flashes like a
remember?
mirror.
Yeah, it does. The sunlight actually does reflect off of the solar panels.
And it flashes like a mirror would. You know what a
Yes,
mirror flash does, right?
yeah, man. I explained that in a moment ago, giving an example about standing on a mountain with a mirror 2 miles
I've never.
away. You can't see the little 4-inch mirror from
Can
2
I bring
miles
up the
away
thing I was going to bring up a while ago?
until I signal you by reflecting the light of the sun off of that little 4-inch mirror. Then
You're
all of a
saying
sudden
the
you can
ISS
see
does
them.
that?
Never mind.
You're repeating yourself. I'm just asking you to clarify. You're saying the ISS reflects like a mirror? I've never seen a video of that. I've only seen images of the ISS reflecting light back because that's how it works anyway. How you see a tree or a mountain or the ISS, if that's is this in the sky, it's reflected light. But it's not mirroring. It's not flashing light. I've never
Yeah.
seen that at least.
Do they have live ISS footage still, or did they stop doing it?
If
think
that
they
was the
still
case,
have it.
you would think it would be able to shine the light down on the ground, and you'd see like a little circle of light going somewhere, following the mirror reflection, right, Grim?
No, not at all, dude. I don't even know where you're getting your shit from sometimes.
Oh my God! Now the sun's not powerful enough to shine on the earth from a reflection on a mirror flying through the sky. That's crazy.
It's not quite enough light, dude.
Oh, it's never
It's a
enough,
thin.
never
It's
good
a
enough, never
Okay.
this,
well,
never that. It's always a big
right. Well,
excuse.
look, you're the one saying that the sun can still be right over my head and be invisible.
I didn't say anything
Don't give
about
me
the
no
sun.
shit on a
I didn't say anything
flat
about the
Earth.
sun. What the hell are you talking about? I said the
Yeah,
ISS.
the sun can just
I can
travel
see a
around, and
white
all of a
object.
sudden I can't see the light from the
Clearly,
sun
we were talking
anymore
about the
because it's just
ISS.
too far away. You say
Graham?
that's
We were talking
but how
about
are you
the
holding?
ISS.
Yeah, but I'm giving an example of how you're holding two conflicting ideas.
So now
to
you're
be
talking about
true.
the sun.
Well, actually, technically, Grim, those aren't conflicting ideas. In one scenario, there is an obstruction that is nearby that would eventually cause it to be covered up due to perspective. Whereas in the other scenario, it's directly over the thing that you're standing on, so it would never be obstructed in that way. I mean, it's the difference of angles. It's pretty simple.
But
The light attenuation angle.
At what height can the sun actually ever touch the horizon on a flat Earth?
Okay,
Visually.
nothing anywhere in reality can
What
touch a
distance
horizon
would I
because
need
the
to go?
horizon is just an apparent meeting of the ground and the sky. Nothing
Yeah,
can
well,
touch it. You
apparently,
can't touch the horizon.
apparently, no shit, bro. Apparently, though, pedantically.
Why are you always so combative, man?
Well, I mean, three people talking at me at once just sort of lights a fuse.
No, that's your excuse. There was one
I
person
wouldn't-
asking you a
Maybe
very
when
direct
someone
question.
interrupts me and says no,
Oh,
while
please.
I'm answering a question they just asked
Okay.
me.
There was something I wanted to bring up a little while ago, guys. And it had to do with the laser things that Jeremy brought up. If we had a perfectly level table according to the Glober's quote unquote model, if we had a perfectly level table and a cup on the table with some water in it, do they consider the surface of that water to be perfectly level and flat, or do they consider it to be perfectly level and still curved at a minuscule level, like a very
It's curving. The water in the cup is curving to them.
Well, hold on.
It's funny he said minuscule because meniscus.
With or without the meniscus.
I know, but he said minuscule. It was just funny that he said that.
A very small amount. Like, do they actually think that cup on the perfectly level table and the cup's perfectly level, that the water inside that is still technically curving just a very small amount?
They're saying you can't measure it. It's so.
Okay.
Oh, you
All right.
can't measure.
Great.
Well-
So, do
I
we
don't.
have the
I don't
capability?
think that.
If we like put light through like a container of water, like let's say a laser or whatever, do we have the capability to calculate how the light should come out of the water on the other end? If we have a container, like a fish tank or whatever, do we have the ability
What's
to
that
do
going to
that?
help you with? Who lives underwater?
Demok, I'm trying to get to a point. Shut up. I don't need you to just
Okay.
ask dumb
Yeah,
questions.
but he doesn't want to
okay?
hear about lasers in a fish tank.
Yeah, I
Do
don't want to hear
do
about
we as
lasers.
human beings have the capability of making that calculation?
Sorry, what are we calculating again?
I'm asking if
The
we
curve
have the
of water,
capability
no.
to
The curve
calculate
of water in a cup.
if we have a fish tank of water and we fire a laser up through it, do we have the ability to calculate where the laser should come out of the surface of the water and hit something?
Are you assuming that the laser is not going to be refracted in any way by the water?
No, I'm asking if we have a way to calculate exactly how it will be refracted. You know, like let's say you're standing above the surface of the water and you see like a fish. Okay, well, if you want to stab the fish with a spear, you can't aim where the fish looks like it is, right? You have to aim somewhere else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do we have a way of calculating that through mathematics where we should stab, or is that an intuition thing that humans can't? We haven't figured out how to calculate it. We just have to feel it out and learn how to do it with our bodies
No,
instinctually.
that's
No, I
Snell's
think
law.
it's calculated by parts per million. How many parts
It's Snell's law. He's talking about Snell's law.
or
Okay.
Fermat's principle? Both, yeah.
So so we would
something
have the ability to calculate that particular thing.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they do have calculations for particular mediums.
Okay.
That's
I'm gonna
already
share my
lined up.
screen.
actual refraction right there, like the
I'm
real
gonna share my
refraction.
screen and
Yeah.
tell me what you guys think of this then. Okay. If we got, let me know when you guys can see it.
I can see it.
If we got a large container of water,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess like a large pool would work or whatever, and we set the lasers on one end of it basically, and on the other end we have basically targets for the lasers to hit. Okay. The Globers would say that the water is curving, and we should be able to calculate where the lasers should hit based on that math, because the surface of the water is curving and it should hit exactly where they say it should hit. If we're